Backslope Tools designs and produces innovative lockable, stackable, and field repairable tools for trail building, landscaping, and gardening. I've been using their Clyde rake and hoe to build a pump track in my backyard, and it's proven to be super versatile and durable. I'm also a big fan of the portable Clyde Jr., which fits in my backpack for trail work days. The Clyde Jr. may be small, but it gets the job done quickly. Both tools are incredibly sharp out of the box and are constructed from high-quality materials, so they're sure to last for many years. In addition to various rakes and hoes, Backslope also offers webbing and straps for moving rocks, logs, and heavy debris deep in the backcountry. With 20 years of trail building experience, Backslope is putting the right tools for the job into builders' hands, from individuals to full-on trail crews. Use code SingleTracksPod at checkout to get 15% off your order at backslopetools.com. That's backslopetools.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the Single Tracks Podcast. My name is Jeff, and today my guest is Lee McCormack. Lee is a mountain bike skills instructor and coach, and he's the author of nearly a dozen books, including the NICA Skills Training Manual. He's written extensively on bike fitting and fitness training, and just last year he launched his own bike brand, Mistress Cycles. Thanks for joining me, Lee.
You're welcome, man. It's good to see you, Jeff. Stoked to talk to you about bikes. Awesome.
So the book that you co-authored with pro racer Brian Lopes is now in its third edition. And I actually have a copy of that book. I have the first edition, which I would love to get you to sign at some point.
That'd be pretty fun. I carry Sharpies. I have Sharpies.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. It's pretty fun.
Celebrity.
Yeah, okay.
Well, so how have mountain biking techniques changed over the years since that book was first published?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I want to ask you more detail, like what you're looking to know, like riding style, how people look at technique. Like, what's the question you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff obviously has changed with bikes and trails. And I'm curious if the way that we ride is different and therefore we need to learn skills in a different way.
That's the question right there. Yeah, we ride differently now. Exactly. And I started this. I got my first mountain bike was a 1988 Nishiki Pueblo.
Okay.
I spent $300 on that thing. And my parents said it was a waste of money. I was like, no, I'm going to be a mountain biker. And they're like, no, you won't. Here we go. So back then, it was a lot like gravel riding is today, to be honest. A lot of the riding we did was a lot of dirt roads. I came up in Southern California. Back then there weren't official mountain bike trails that just didn't exist. So there's a lot of dirt roads and there were some hiking trails, right? And so the dirt roads, I remember those days very well. We would have an Avocet, little speedometer computer on our bar, and we would just try to hit 50 miles an hour on a rigid bike with rim brakes, with SHIT tires, but we were young and we didn't and 150 millimeter negative stems. And that's what we were doing, and then if it was single track, at least the guys I rode with Brian Lopes, so he was pretty good biking back then.
Yeah.
But single track, I mean, he was great, but for the most part, it was just like, how can we get down this? Like the stuff you see in Laguna Canyon, like that gnarly downhill. Like we were riding that on rigid bikes, like with 150 millimeter stems and seats up our butts way back. And as I recall, it was like the overall feel was more like we're in the mountains. We're on bikes. We're going to do this adventure, and hilarity will ensue.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And back then, hilarity ensued often with bikes breaking. Like all the time. You had spokes attached to your frame. It just was a thing back then. Anyway, so I think that more, of course, the bikes have changed, culture's changed, social media has happened. And riding trails are built more around an experience. And I'd say this, at their best, like the pump track stuff I design, what good trail building does is it invokes flow states. It invokes flow. And this is kind of the deepest and best use of that. You can talk about it being extreme and hitting big jumps, and that stuff's great. Trust me, no one loves that more than me. But I feel like the greatest purpose of that is to achieve flow, to give people the peace that they lack in their lives. That's what this is really for. So to answer your question, that requires high speed cornering. That requires really knowing how to pump. jumping and air time and dropping are all a much more bigger part of riding. I would say that now I'm getting excited. Here it comes. So like back then in the old days, I'd say riding was probably more two-dimensional, back forth, side to side. Now riding is more vertical. And so, you see how I'm moving my body. This is my teaching style. It's to learn how to work with your bike personally. Like the person-bike connection is really important now. Hence my bike fit work and mobility work and psychology work. And then that fits to the trail.
Okay.
And so to answer your question, yeah, like if you're going to be riding faster on bigger shapes, you need different skills than when you're riding less fast on flatter ground, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, what you're saying too, I'm curious. A lot of riders would say bikes are better now, trails are purpose built. And so in a lot of ways, maybe biking has gotten easier, but at the same time, you're seeing all these like new skill. I mean, more people are taking skills classes than ever before, I would imagine. Feels like there's a lot more to learn despite the trails and bikes making it easier. Is that fair to say?
That's a great question, dude. I'm going to answer this in two ways. Let's just say.
All right.
The things that are effective for a person to learn and to really master are very elegant and they're very simple. They're simple. They're a lot simpler than that book you have sitting there, right? A lot. And the next technique book will be more like the Tao of mountain bike and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing, right? The one I'm working right now is the new Fit book, Dial 2. So it's all real elegant and simple, and it's more about being a person and an athlete than a cyclist. So how do I say this? Shoot, this is where it gets hard to take 40 years of passion and squeeze it through this medium. It's hard. I have a hard time with it. The simple truths are always simple. They're the same truths that would apply to any sport you do, skiing, anything you do, right? And so I would say that there's more of a hunger now than there used to be to gain some sort of skill. And, and when I did the first book, that book, Ned Overend had the popular book at the time, but it wasn't a technique book. It was a different sort of a book. Okay. And I'm the first person to ever take my polymath nerd career, my two previous careers, informational graphics and software design, and apply them to this. Right. And so my goal really back then was I'm going to write the book. I'm going to write the definitive book. And that happened. It's happened, 3 times with that one already. And then after I finished it, I was like, every real sport has a curriculum, like skiing. Like I've got kids. You can see your kids go through the steps of soccer. So I'm like, well, mountain biking should have this. And I think I'm the guy to put something out there.
Yeah.
And I started that process. And since then, as you said, there's been enormous proliferation of coaching. So there's more demand for coaching. It's in your face more. I would say that I'm making commentary now on the current state of mountain bike coaching. I would say that most of the people who are doing it are hobbyists. They're hobbyists. It's very, 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 very hard to make a living at that. It's expensive on the body. Trust me.
Yeah.
And so most are hobbyists. Most have no training, or they took like a weekend or like a little bit of a certification. They know what they know. That's all they know. In some ways, it's that education is wildly incomplete. And in other ways, it's wildly too detailed and too persnickety. So what I see, and I've actually had to, I've unfollowed all of everybody. I did. I had to for my own sanity because I couldn't watch it anymore. And
you're trying to coach the coaches, sounds like.
Yeah. And I'm completely cool with coaching coaches who want to be coached. I'm completely 100% awesomely. I'm going to pass this along. I'm going to be gone at some point here. I'm completely cool with pushing this through to the next generation of people who will take these ideas I've kind of started and take them further, because it's a process, like a scientific process. But what I've seen so far is for the most part, that's not what they want. That's not what they want. They're not open to feedback from someone who actually knows the work, who's been doing it, who's done it over 11,000 times, dude. 11,000 students. So we're getting into commentary here, right? So it's like, I love the fact that mountain bikers care more and more about their skill, because it keeps them safe. It keeps them riding. It keeps them progressing and learning yourself. I mean, honestly, at a deep level, like learning yourself, learning your nervous system, creating coherence in yourself, like dealing with fears and ego and all the stuff that we all deal with. That's the job. And for some people, you do it with a fly rod. Some people, they do it riding code or playing music. We maybe use mountain bikes. So I'm completely support and stoked on anyone who's on the path. And I'll suggest that if you're scrolling the YouTube and the Insta and you're watching free content, just be careful. I won't name names, but just be careful with what you're consuming. That's that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring any of that up, but it comes up.
Well, yeah. I mean, that leads into my next question, which was going to be sort of about what makes a good coach. I mean, obviously there's going to be a difference between someone who's a good mountain bike racer and someone who's a good coach.
Yeah.
Do you need to have both? I mean, there's plenty of examples of people who are really good at one, but not the other. But yeah, do you need to have both of those? I mean, could somebody who's like a great, let's say college professor come in and they don't know a lot about mountain biking, but like, could they be a good coach, or do you need to have both of those pieces in your opinion?
That's a really gorgeous question. I'll start with the easy answer. To be a high level rider, the people who are making the shreddeds, the people who have won races, guys like Brian, right? Guys like that. That is a state of no mind. That is pure instinct. That's how you perform at that level. You, by definition, for most people, for 99.99999% of people, when you're in that state, you're not recording consciously what you're doing. And so those people make awful teachers. They do, because they don't know what they're doing. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've talked to a lot of people about how they do what they do, famous world champion people. They don't know. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I've seen. Okay. This is, again, this is direct experience. And if you're listening to this and you've been in the sport a few years, welcome. But I want you to understand, I'm giving you a favor by sharing my time with you. I've been for 40 years. I've been doing it for a living for 22 years. There's a difference. I'm going to cry here. Between a man who commits his career and personal life body to this thing. And I have my reasons for doing that. Happy to share them. There's a difference between someone with a genius IQ dedicating his life force to figuring out the sport that we love over the course of decades, and a hobbyist. Yeah. So everything I say, I offer. It's hard earned, bros and sisters and bros. Okay. I want you to know the difference between someone with experience and someone with opinions. Okay. Yeah. I just want to say that because it doesn't get said. Okay. Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense that the book that you wrote, Mastering Mountain Bike Skills with Brian Lopes, I mean, you have both sides there, right? You have that professional racer who, is able to access that sort of flow state and can perform. And then you're able to work together and kind of interpret that and make it so it is like useful to other people in sort of a coaching way.
Yeah, that would be a really good model. If you could find an elite athlete who you can work with like that, that's amazing. Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Right. So, but it's very, very rare. Like I've not met one yet. Not one. Okay. So the teacher types, okay, let's see if I can bring this in. You have your athletes, which is, let's just say, a body thing. Make it simple. You have your teacher types, right? Your college professors, the kind of people, the nerds, let's call us brain people. You got your body people and your brain people, body, brain. For the most part, the people who want to teach from a standpoint of teaching, like they want to teach, and that's what they do, are generally mostly brain people. Mostly brain people. You can get some decent teaching. Okay, here we go. Ready, Jeff? Here we are.
Ready.
We have teaching, and then we have coaching. Teaching is the conveyance of ideas from my head into yours.
Okay.
A book used to be the way to do it. And they're still pretty good. Video is probably better because it has motion. Me standing in front, like I'm like doing a NICA training. I used to like train like 80 people at once, and I'd be like on a stage. That's a performance. That's not coaching. That's teaching. So the construction of the curriculum is brain. That's the nerd stuff. You know, and the conveyance of it is often an intellectual act. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
The teaching part. So, okay, everybody, where should your weight be? On your feet. Great. Check.
Right.
Coaching is different. Coaching is a whole other deal. Coaching, the kind of coaching I do and that people pay the money that I deserve to receive is an energetic, more emotional connection that also feeds through intellect and body. And allows you to feel the person, allows them to feel you, allows you to communicate really effectively, verbally, kinesthetically, and energetically. That's coaching. That's coaching. And so check this out. You can have an athlete who can show you what to do with your body. There's plenty of them out there. They're not that hard to find. And you can have an intellect who can tell you what to do with your body and explain it to you. Yeah. Right? A coach, a great coach, and these are rare people, freaking rare people, has access to both of those states, can be teaching you and go, hang on. This took me years to develop this ability to go, okay, hang on, Jeff, click athlete mode, execute, click coach mode, come back, what you see. And now for me, it's seamless. But in the beginning, that transition was so awkward that I had to wear armor when I taught because I crashed a lot. I had to learn.
Yeah, it's tough to do both.
It's very rare. It took me decades. Okay, so check it out. Then a great coach has access to both of those and ties them through this emotional, energetic channel. You know, and that's the complete coach. And just think about how many human beings you know who are integrated in all three areas. It's probably a small number.
Yeah, not a lot.
How many of those people are just way into mountain biking? Smaller number. How many of those people have the time and interest to be a mountain bike coach, right? How many of those people aren't already busy making a shit ton of money doing something else?
Right.
That pays like $250,000 or more a year. Does that make sense? So it becomes
more than being a mountain bike coach for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So very right. So it gets really, really rare. And so when you go and I think as I do this more, I'm trying, you know, I'm a human being, dude. I'm a human being with an ego, and part of this whole persona right there, let's just be honest, bro. That guy right there, he's not me anymore. Was like, I'm a broken little boy. I don't feel like an athlete. I don't belong. I'm a nerd. I've never had a group. And I started mountain biking and I got in shape and it was fun. And I had instant friends and I had instant community and I had an identity and I had something to do. Yeah. Right. Hey, Lee, where are you? I'm a mountain biker. Right. Yeah. Like those days were great. And so, but I'm transitioning out of that. I hope this is coming across. I'm going into a flow state where I don't even know what I'm saying. This is how I am when I'm coaching. Seriously. Yeah. I tell my students, hey, what I have for you today goes way beyond logic. It just does. The logic's there. We'll whiteboard as much as you want, but I will go all out. And if I forget what I'm talking about, just bring me back. Literally. And I'm going to ask you again. So what question am I answering?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great explanation of the difference between a teacher and a coach and an athlete. I want to shift gears now and talk about some specific skills. You know, I've read your book and obviously you have a lot of different skills to share. One of the ones that I'm curious about is pedal cadence, which actually, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it seems like it's a thing that road bikers focus on a lot. But as mountain bikers, we don't talk about it all the time. So I'm curious, is pedal cadence important for mountain biking? And how do you know if your cadence is too fast or too slow?
That's an interesting question. So let's just say this. Okay, let me ask you the question. What does important mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, what's the question really?
Yeah, I mean, I think important in terms of your endurance and being able to finish a ride strong. I know for me, if you're in the wrong gear, I think gears are hard for people, honestly. I mean, to start at the very beginning, like if you're brand new to the sport, I know when I taught my kids to ride, that was the thing that tripped them up big time, right? I mean, that's why you start a kid on a single speed bike. And just knowing like, what is this sustainable kind of cadence? What kind of cadence should I have for climbing and pedaling? Because as I get older too, I feel like my cadence is just too slow.
Slowing down.
But I don't know if that's something I can change. If it's, if it is naturally, you can kind of just figure out the right cadence for yourself, or is there a way to know like you're too fast, you're too slow?
Thank you for that. Okay. So we're talking about, I believe, mirroring is so funny. What I heard you ask me is, why won't I do the dishes? Okay. Yeah. So is you're asking about, power and endurance over, really how it relates to cadence. And so this is great stuff. So in general, I think this is pretty solid. A higher cadence. So let's just say the same amount of power is being made. Let's say you climb at 200 watts, something like that, right? That's probably about right when you're cruising. Is that right?
I don't know. Again, I'm a mountain biker, and I feel like watts and measuring power, that's like a road biker thing. I know people do it for mountain biking, but I don't.
Great. You know what? I'm telling you this. The people who need metrics the most are the people who don't have any connection to their own freaking joy. And if you enjoy your riding and you have joy, sister, brother, everybody, that's the metric.
Okay.
That's the metric.
Like it. Yeah.
Now, if it's a Wednesday and you had a day at work and you want to feel good about something and you want to sit on your trainer like I have right there and hit some watts and that makes you feel good, do it. Do it. Because not every day is amazing. Just get a little victory, okay? Okay, end of speech, right? There's a clip for your Instagram right there. Yeah. Being crazy, but it's true. Okay, so, all right, this is true. All right, so given the same amount of actual power output and speed and all that garbage, when you spin a higher cadence, a lighter gear.
Yeah, faster.
Like the faster cadence. That puts less stress on your muscular system and more stress on your cardiovascular system.
Okay. You're trading them off.
It's a trade. And then your nervous system. There's more going on with your nervous system because it has to maintain just more juice, like more speed. Yeah. That might be some reason. Sometimes like when you've just been stressed or you're tired and it's not physical always. It's emotional. Like something's on you. You tend to be kind of plodding when you ride. I don't know if you've ever felt that. That's your nervous system. It's been so like light cadence, easy on the muscles, hard on the heart. Make it simple. Yeah. Okay? For a long, long day, because remember, your cardiovascular system, theoretically, if it's developed and fed, can go on pretty much forever.
Right. Okay.
Pretty much. Right?
Yeah.
Your muscles will fatigue locally, right? So like if you're going to go do Leadville or something, you're probably most of the time going to be a pretty light cadence.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you know what I'm going to say. Now, the harder gear puts less emphasis on the cardiovascular system and more on your just raw strength. Okay. Of course, I'm going to tell you to expand your power band.
Yeah.
Here. Out here. So I was a motocross guy. So power band's the part of the RPM range where the motorcycle actually makes the power. Okay. So let's say you're just a new rider or you're not paying attention. You probably settle in, I don't know, 50, 60 RPM, something like that. That's kind of where people tend to go. And if I'm not paying attention and I'm tired, that's where I go. Okay. And so this is cool, right? Like it's a good idea as a cyclist to push that faster. Okay. To maybe make it so that when you sit down, the default is a little quicker. Okay. Right. And the way you do that, we can talk about that, but there are ways to do that. At the same time, you also want to train the other direction and train clean, powerful, low cadence pedaling. And so why is that more important on a mountain bike than on a road bike? Well, there's more terrain variation. Right.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, you're going to have more pedal strikes or, there's pedal timing comes into it.
All kinds of stuff. Surfaces.
That's not a thing in road biking necessarily.
I'm creating traction. There's a lot going on. We can go on. We could do 2 hours on technical. Yeah. So there's more going on. So I'll just say that you want to ideally maybe nudge your default cadence up a little bit, but expand your power band, because there are moments in mountain biking when you need the really quick whop. I've measured on my trainer with flat pedals 200 RPM. That's pretty quick.
Whoa.
You know, and then maybe also be able to grind down at 30, expand it. And that way that gives you more leeway, right? Oh, and also I want to say this. We're all built differently, right? Like you appear to be, just from your here up, to be more an endurance build. That you look like that too. Yep. I'm not an endurance build, you know? And so, for example, like if you and I were on a ride together, you might be hanging out at 80, 90 RPM doing like this, especially like at hour 4 when we all get tired, right? Yeah. What I will do at that part of the ride is I'll lean into just my brute strength, and I'll go to a significantly harder gear. And I have a whole pedaling style around that where I'll scooch back on my saddle and pedal that way. So I know that I can lean into my physical strength when my cardio is not there.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that helpful?
That's good. And I'm sure it's not an easy explanation, but could it be as simple as, if I wanted to increase my cadence to go a little bit faster, as just trying to remind myself to do that, or is it more involved than that?
You don't have, that's, we can make it, my brother. You're talking to the king nerd. We can make it as involved as you want, man. I got all pedaling techniques that, by the way, have proven time and time again for civilians, 20, 30% increases of power just from technique.
Wow.
Straight technique. There you go, everybody. LeeLikesBikes.com, right?
Yeah.
That's my average. But so I got excited again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, can I just say, I figure out where I'm at. I'm probably not near that 80 to 90 RPMs by any means. So yeah, can I just
do it,
get used to it, or what?
Yeah. Yeah. And just do it. And if you're the kind of person, if you're the kind of person who's worrying about this sort of thing, right? You're probably the kind of person who's riding with your brain more than your body. That's okay. We're all different. We're all there. By the way, what I didn't finish was this with the coaching. If you want to go bro with a pro and see someone rip crazy go take a class with a pro racer. Do it. If that's what you want, it's amazing. Oh my God, you'll see, bring your camera. If you want to nerd out and be told stuff and like get some information, go see some nerd teacher guy or woman.
Yeah.
Them. If you want to be coached, that's different. Okay, that's
right.
So I'd say as your coach, I'm just taking the thing on, knowing your personality. I'd say this. I read people for a living. I'd say, go out and ride and set a timer for a minute. And you're going to count RPM. Okay. You're just on some climb. When you'd be bored, when you'd be thinking about your stock portfolio, don't think about that right now. Right? Just go, okay, I'm going to count to 80 for a minute. And that's my goal. And go, just do it. Whatever your technique is fine. And you'll know, you asked, how do you know it's too fast? If you start bouncing and it gets crazy. So go for 80 smooth, 90 smooth, and just do it for like a minute at a time when you have time. And what that'll do is it'll wake up your nervous system. And what's cool about this is like let's just say that you love to climb at 60. Great. Right? I tend to. Well, if you get smooth at 90, bro, you're going to be really smooth at 60, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that's why I train, like when I'm training pedaling, I push both ways. I push to strength, hard gears. Like I can climb hills out of the saddle in the biggest gear I have on any bike. Wow. Right? Yeah. That's just how I'm built. And of course I just tore my hamstring off. So yay, Yay, Lee, you're so strong. You tore your hamstrings off. Good for you. But then at the same time, sit on the trainer or wherever you're at and spin fast and expand it. And in my world, for mountain bike skills, for riding, like the way I teach these days, like you can only master one or two things, right? You're not going to get the laundry list that everybody tells you to do, preload this, forget all that. Get good at pedaling, get good at pumping. Those are all the mechanical skills you need. That's it. Pedaling and row, anti-row, that's everything. And then learn how to control your core and your hips and have a good day and feel good about yourself. And that's it.
Yeah.
So it's like the books are going to get shorter and shorter, man.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned pumping as like the other big one, because obviously, from what I've seen, you're a big fan of pump tracks.
Oh yeah.
Why is that? Because pumping is so important in terms of a skill.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was because like I was just trying to be this downhill, win a national guy, and I wasn't doing it. And we were in Boulder, and Steve Wentz, a brilliant trail builder today, professional trail builder. He saw a video. It was McCormack, and he was on some weird track in a BMX bike, and it was like weird. And so Steve led the build of what I consider to be the first modern pump track.
Interesting. Yeah.
At the Fixed Bike Shop in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
And we built it and started riding it. And it was clear we didn't know how to build it. We didn't even know how to ride it. One of those corners.
What year was that, do you think?
I want to say about 18 years ago or so, something like that.
Okay.
Which is crazy to consider, because from my perspective, the sport of pump tracking is less than 2 decades old. It's already a world champion event.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, I'm racing the World Championships qualifier next weekend.
Oh, cool.
On my Moto Cranx bike.
You ready?
I'm as ready as a 56-year-old man who tore his hamstrings off 7 months can be. But I'm ready. I am. So we started it. It was just like all about learning how to ride better, and then I just found that I loved it, and I found it really challenging and interesting. And so I'm a huge fan of pump tracks. As a matter of fact, yesterday I put in a monstrous pump track workout.
Oh, cool.
Huge.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm like this crazy guru guy half the time, but the other time I'm this crazy freaking nerd. And I can tell you that my workout contained 1,650 pumps. It's 33 pumps a lap, and I did 5 sets of 10.
Wow.
And so I enjoy it. First of all, it makes me happy. It's a great workout. It gives you a super hot body and all that. But like from a mountain bike standpoint, Jeff, I'm just imprinting the pattern. It's always the same row, anti-row, elliptical pattern. This is why every BMXer you've ever met is a better mountain biker than you. We've all experienced it. You get some BMX dork, they're not, and they get on your mountain bike. They're like, what are these? And they just do stuff you can't even conceive of.
Right.
It's because this is all they do. Think about this, Jeff. If you grow up learning to pedal as fast and hard as you can, and a solid BMXer is worth 1,500, 2,000 watts.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
And then pumping as fast as you can, you're going to be a good mountain biker, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm all about the pump tracks. Yes, I love it. The skills, the community, the democratic nature. We were out the other day. I was out the other day, yesterday, and kids come after school. They got scooters, they got bikes, they got skateboards, they got roller skates sometimes, because there's like a whole thing with quads are coming back now. And I socially, I think pump tracks are.
Yeah. Yeah, they're amazing. And, I wanted to talk about too, you developed a product called Moto Cranx that replaces your pedals with basically 2 inline pegs, and then you put your pedals on that. What does it feel like to ride with both of your feet centered beside the bottom bracket? Seems like that would be weird, because as bikers, we're used to having, 1 foot forward and 1 foot back.
Yeah, it's weird for, I've had a few dozen people on it.
Okay.
And it's weird for a moment. You're like, in most people, it's usually at a pump track. So first lap, they'll be like, I feel like my other foot's forward, because you're so used to being like this, that being like this feels like that. But then what they feel like halfway through the lap is like, you're just powerful. It's what led to the development of this thing, right? What led to me just even doing this, because I work with people. And from, mountain bike cranks tend to be way too long for riders. They do. Right.
Yeah.
If your average height, a 170 crank, if you go with like Leonard Zinn's multipliers, which I use, there's no reason not to. He and I are friends. I respect the guy. I use his multipliers very openly. That if you're under 5'8" or so, they're all too long for you.
Yeah.
So there's a real biomechanical issue with trying to do an athletic pursuit with your feet like this.
Yeah. That's pretty far apart.
It's really, really hard on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard on your hamstrings. It's really hard on your low back. All you bros out there, on long downhills, how that back quad burns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know how that other side, your low back starts to burn? Has your wife noticed, or your partner noticed, that the muscles on your lower back are more developed on one side than on the other side?
Mm-hmm.
It's because you're chronically crooked.
Hmm.
It takes an enormous amount of mobility, like hypermobile freak mobility, like me, Yolanda Neff, Brian Lopes, all these elite riders. Yeah, I put myself on that list. That just happened, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Prove otherwise. You see them riding in these beautiful square hips, their knees lined up in the low hinge. Try it. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
You have to be really flexible. So I started noticing, right, as I came back from the shoulders, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to mountain bike at all anymore. And I thought I was done with coaching, and I said goodbye to it. But I came back again, and I started noticing, I'm like, okay, people just have a hard time balancing. They have a really hard time being here. And with your body crooked like that, your system knows something's wrong. And the signals get retarded. They get like when you can hurt yourself, if you push as hard as you can, your body won't do it. And I started really noticing and keying into this energy, especially shorter riders, generally women, like a 5'2" women. Let me say something quickly. The fact that certain companies sell like bikes that are $10,000 or so, marketed to women who are 5'2" and have the same handlebar and same cranks as the extra large marketed to a guy who's 6'5", I find not maybe perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, I'm just going to say that. So I'm watching everybody struggle. Anyway, I get excited. I promised I would. And I was realizing, I was like, I can't teach these people how to ride. Because they can't even stand on the bike effectively.
Right. Yeah.
And I started thinking, what needs to happen here? I used to do motocross. Like, that was amazing. Like, motocross is awesome. You're like, boom.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, like, wait a second. And I started thinking about it. And then when I came back I raced Masters Worlds in May as like my whole Phoenix unfurling life journey thing. And for that bike, I was running 155 cranks versus my classic 170s. And I noticed, I was like, when I ride the 155s, my hips feel normal. But whenever I ride a 170, I got to do a bunch of stretching and weird after I ride. And I started realizing, like, wait a second, it's obvious that the longer crank is harder for people to ride. Right. And now I'm starting to feel some weirdness in my body. So I hired a designer, actually the engineer who did the really good Reeb bikes, Steve. And we came up with a prototype, and I ordered it, and it's out. And so it's being built. And then I'm driving to work. I'm going to go coach, right? It's a freaking beautiful day in Boulder, man. I'm just feeling it. And I was like being all intuitive that day, man, in my body, and because when you come to see me, man, you get all of it, man. Like it's a thing. I care.
Yeah.
I care.
Yeah.
You'll see God if you want to. And then my little voice says, Lee, this has been an amazing few years. Like you got out of a bad situation, you found love, you got your shoulders replaced, you got arms again, you did this big race, your coaching's like at this new level. And I was like, yeah, it's time for another test phase, I'll bet. I literally was driving to work, and I had that thought, and I wasn't afraid. I was like, all right, it's been cool. And I understand that life is waves, just like dirt jumps. That's one thing I love pump tracks. It teaches us what we need to know about living. It's all waves, heavy, light, up, down, right? Happy, sad. And a week later, my hamstrings tore off my hip.
Ooh.
A week later.
Ouch.
I was laying there, and I was like, okay, there it is. Yeah. So check this out, Jeff, to the Moto Cranx. Guess what was already in production? 0 millimeter cranks.
Yeah.
And I couldn't walk. I've always had legs. Even when I didn't have my shoulders, I had legs. That was like my identity as a cyclist.
Right. Yeah.
Butt and my legs. That's how I do everything. Right. And I lost it. And that was tough. And that was the hardest one I've been through. That was hard. If you want to talk about it. But then you know what's freaking awesome? The Moto Cranx arrived. I couldn't hinge. So my hamstring was so jacked up.
Right.
I was able to ride without hinging, Jeff. I was able to go to the pump track and start my PT and train and not be depressed anymore because I didn't have any cranks, bro. I mean, it was the most, just for me as a guy, as a human being, as a spirit, whatever you call this stuff. I was like, oh my God, like I'm out here and it feels so good and I'm getting strong. I'm getting my training in. That obsessive part of me is still aware of my lactate threshold and all that garbage. And it feels good. And I hand it to people and everybody's like, oh my God, it's so easy. It's so fun. And dude, think about being in the gym. Like when your feet are next to each other, you can squat or deadlift 3x, which you can do here.
Yeah.
And so that's the story about why it came away and it came along. And it's just, there's a real difference, man, psychologically. Okay. In addition to all the strain on your hamstrings. Okay. Not linear. Lee, why did I tear my hamstrings off my body? How did that happen? It's not common.
Yeah.
2 reasons. One, I have a soft tissue condition that makes me very mobile and very delicate. It does. It also gives me a lot of interoception, and that's part of how I feel everything and explain it. That's like my superpower gift and my curse. So my soft tissue is fundamentally soft. That's why my shoulders wore out the way they did. And dude, this is the downside. I'm looking at my friends out there of being a full-time mountain bike coach over a great period of time, spending an enormous amount of time in a deep hinge on cranks that were too long for me biomechanically.
Oh, yeah.
Years and years and years, full-time job. And so like when I was doing other stuff, it would have been heart disease. When I was like, if I was stayed in the, .com, I would have been depression and anxiety and heart disease. If you're going to be a professional mountain bike coach, it might be your body wearing out, right?
Yeah.
But I'm on the Moto Cranx right now, and I just built the first Moto Cranx bike specifically for it, and I'm having so much fun. And they're fast, and I feel like if you're a pump track racer, get on it before the UCI bans it.
Yeah, it looks really cool for sure. And yeah, sounds like a really different thing. I'm interested to hear what other folks think about it as well as they're able to test that. So, general question for you here. Do you think mountain bikers tend to be overconfident or underconfident in their skills? Or is it a mix? I feel like I have friends, that are either one, but is there one that you find is more common as a coach and as an instructor?
The people who come to me are less confident. They're underconfident.
Okay.
Yeah. The people who are overconfident, you see.
They don't go to skills classes, I guess.
No, you don't.
They already know everything.
And it's funny, those guys, I get a few of them. What's funny? I raise my prices to the point where they don't show up anymore. But I used to get guys showing up just to show off, just to show me how cool they were.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
That's like pulling a lightsaber on Yoda. Just don't do that. Just don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. But the people I see are underconfident. The people I see are generally overthinking. They're disconnected from their bodies. They are frustrated because they're just going on the internet. It's not working for them. Of course it isn't. None of those systems are thought through. None of them are.
Yeah.
And none of them have feedback. Because look at it, man. Like if I tell you, if you take a level 1 class from me and I teach you how to hinge and how to be low and you go home, you think you're low, you're not low. You're not. I mean, me too. Like I was actually out. It was so great. I was coaching a bunch of coaches in Park City last season. And we're doing some trail stuff, like heavy duty rock garden type stuff. And I will be honest and tell you, like I'm still pretty, dealing with this stuff. Right. Like I was,
shoulder.
And I rode clean. It made the point, but one of the guys was like, hey, you weren't low. It's like, he shows me the video. Dude, I thought I was like down here, man. And I was like, see, so most people are not confident enough. And so they're hyper in their heads. And this is my bread and butter. Okay. Like if you are an intellectual person, And I have this line, you know, in reality, it's all, ideally everything's mixy and you can use the full self, but most of us, we're one or the other, most of us.
Mm-hmm.
If you have succeeded in life using intellect,
Mm-hmm.
grades, career, whatever, you know, your metrics are, then that just becomes a hammer and everything's a nail.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you come into the sport with intellect. And when you see coaches out there like talking about step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the complication, it looks a lot like the way I started 20 years ago as an information architect nerd.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here to tell you that's not how people learn sports, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how you learn a sport. And I know there are a lot of us out there, I'm going to say us, right, who understand, you've seen the videos, you can write an essay, you just can't do it.
Right.
And also when you're doing it, there's a lot of judgment and tension and you're assessing yourself and it's not that fun. And so then what do? You buy a new bike or you buy some sick new front tire. That's why you have it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of my students, the best students, come to me at a point in their life when the tools that they've been using aren't working anymore.
Okay.
As a rider, they're just like, they're as fit as they can be. They're skinny. They've spent the money on the bikes. They're still getting their ass. If you're a racer, you're still getting your ass kicked on the downhills by guys who look like me, who literally, when I race cross country, I have sleeves of Oreos on my top tube. And you're like, you know, they don't like that. So they come to see me. Right. And then also when you talk to those people, that's the experience in their whole life. Like at work, they've hit a ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
At home, they've hit a ceiling, and on the bike, they've hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
If you come to me for biking, you're going to learn how to ride a bike. It's the simplest thing in the world. Everybody who doesn't understand it yet makes it complicated. It's simple. Mm-hmm. We can make a change like this. But what's going to happen, whether you consciously know it or not, is the systems in you that make you a great rider. There's the parts of you that enjoy playing around, that take pride and go, ooh, Jeff, good one, bro. Right? Yeah. You got to talk to yourself. You got to narrate your stuff like you're freaking Rob Warner, you know? Right? How does he sit with
the Rob Warner in your head?
Yeah, you got to have Rob Warner in your head, right? I think that's a great way to put it. And often when I'm writing, I will narrate myself or I'll narrate a student of mine, right? So it's like, this is so exciting and hard to get out of my mouth. So I'm going to try here, right? It's like enjoying, you've heard it all, enjoy the process, all that stuff, right? That's true. And the way you do it is you just look for tiny little wins, man. Tiny microscopic wins. You didn't hit your brakes there. Good. You didn't look at the tree, whatever it is, right? And so that's those systems in you that know how to learn, that appreciate the learning, that enjoy the learning, that map that to greater confidence, and then just inherently want to go out into the world and show it.
Yeah.
Those are the systems you need when you're developing some new crazy product at work.
Right, right.
Those are the systems you freaking need when you take your family on some crazy vacation. Those are the systems, I'm sorry to say, you need when you got to go to IKEA for a full day and buy a bunch of That's endurance.
I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is that the ideal thing is to be honest with yourself and maybe add in some humility there, but, you know, tell yourself when you're doing a good job or when you did the right thing, but also recognizing, oh, you know, I messed up there. I can do it better next time. Is that kind of the model? If you can perfect that, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to stay in the middle there, not go overconfident or underconfident.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Jeff. It's both.
Right.
And I don't believe in middle anymore. I've tried middle. Middle doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'll give you as much detail as you want, but I learned this lesson as I was preparing for Worlds last May. Middle doesn't work. So I would say this. And I try really hard in my classes, if it's a 2-hour class or like a lifelong engagement, whatever we get into, we have rules of how we talk to ourselves and how we talk about ourselves. Right. Yeah. And we're honest and we don't talk good or bad.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's been done before, but this is our mountain bike version of this. We don't say, I do my best to not say bad, good.
Okay.
I do my best to say, Jeff, the way you loaded your big toe, did you feel that? feel like how the bike like connected. That's what we're looking for. So
Yeah.
I try to say, all right, like this is my current experience and how I ride. Like I'm doing it right now. I got a big race and I have a fresh hamstring and I got a brand new style bike. Like I'm training right now. I have a week to learn a whole new style of bike and figure out what my hamstring can do. Right. So I'm deeply training and I'm paying attention. So the way I do it now is I go, all right, Lee, well, you got endurance and you're smooth. Like no one's going to argue that. Like I'm like the king of endurance pump tracking.
Yeah.
But this is one lap time and the age group is 17 plus elite.
Okay.
You've seen these freaking young pros.
Yeah.
Holy God. Like they grew up on pump tracks. It's incredible. So there's a delta between them and where I perceive myself to be, let's say. Does this make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to do my best to close it in a week.
Yeah.
So instead of good, bad, I say input, output.
Okay.
This time when I'm in the corner, like I was doing this yesterday, I'm going to come from the middle of the corner and I'm going to hop out to the exit. That's the goal. And I'm going to do that by giving a little more pull at this part, right? So you run an experiment and I'm going to map how that feels. And I'll say, that worked. That goes in the system.
Okay.
We're going to keep doing that. I try something else. No, that didn't work. That goes away. Or I can notice, man, I'm getting tired and I wasn't low enough that time. Does that make sense? So there's no judgment here. We're just sort of adjusting.
Yeah, you just keep what works and all the other stuff, just ignore it.
Or just say, okay, well, like I've said to people before, I'm like, listen, man, if you want to wash out in the corner, like if that's what you want, like that's what you want for some reason, like maybe you're doing a reel, I don't know. Just go into the corner and lock your arms and lean back and it'll happen, right? Now, if you don't want that, don't do that, right? And so I want to see if I can get this through. One reason people don't practice skills. The word practice or drill.
Yeah.
I hate the word drill. I invented the freaking mountain bike drill. Sorry. It's of limited use.
Yeah. Okay.
It is. It's of limited use. It keeps you stuck here. Games. We play games. We play games. We play games.
Yeah. More fun.
It's way more fun. And the science is clear on this, brother. The science is clear on this. If you're here, you don't learn fast. And you probably will never learn here. So it's all game. And I'll tell you, if all you people who really want to, like, let's say you have a goal of getting better at cornering. And you've been doing the drills. Don't, like, just seriously, like, if it's free on the internet, it's worth free. Also, watch the person carefully. Do they look stiff? Does the coach look stiff? Most do, because they're demonstrating a technique.
Right.
Look at how the person is riding. If that person's riding the way that you want to ride, mimic them. There you go.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, so mountain biking, I think, is kind of rare in that it's a lifelong sport for a lot of people. And one of the questions that somebody asked me recently, who's not a mountain biker, they were asking, if I'm as fast now as I was in my 30s, and I'm in my 40s now, and I was kind of surprised by my answer. I actually said, I think I'm faster now than I was in my 20s. And, obviously he was shocked and I kind of was too. I was like, wait, is that actually true? So I'm curious about your take. I mean, is it possible for us to be faster in our 40s than our 20s, at least in terms of like skills and bike handling? I mean, I probably am not, I don't have the same level of endurance. Maybe the endurance is the same, but I do feel like I'm faster now through skills. Like, is that a normal thing, do you think?
It can be. Yep. If you keep hammering at it the way you used to, pedal, then you're going to get really good at that. And you're going to get, and if you allow yourself to be stiff in corners, you're going to master stiffness in corners. You know this, you're going to master whatever it is you do. And you absolutely, one of the best things I think about this whole pursuit of internal mastery, skills, starting, like what do you do with your hands and feet when you ride? But more importantly, what do you do with your awareness when you ride? Like,
Yeah.
That's infinitely scalable, dude. There is no limit to how coherent you can make your system in terms of how you ride your bicycle. I've been, I think, as deep as anyone on this. I really do. And I was out yesterday. I mean, how many laps have I done on pump tracks? 100,000? I don't know. And I found another layer. I found another layer yesterday, another layer with this new bike of mine. So it's like you can scale that forever. And by the way, that's where the real fun happens.
Right.
Now, okay, so back to you started with the word faster, but I like how you qualified. Yes, faster can happen. Yes. As we get older, we still have tons of endurance available. We know how to manage ourselves. You can get better with your pedaling technique. You can get better with your diet. You can get smarter with not training so much. Yes, not training so much. Most of us do too much. And I've got these people. I got this like new product line, the Platinum Shredder program, where I do your daily training. And we text every day. And most of the time I tell you to rest, don't I?
Sweet. Another rest day. Awesome.
No, you need them. So you can absolutely scale, especially in your skills and most importantly in your joy. And I like metrics too. So, okay. When I was 35, that was like my year, and I had just quit like the .com. And that's the year I raced the entire national series, and I was Cat 1 national champion for downhill. Yay. And I took an 8th in worlds. One mistake that doesn't drive me crazy. Yeah, pretty funny, right? And I was going pretty good, I'd say. And what's interesting on hindsight is I had the physical capacity to be an elite pro. I didn't have the self-belief. That's how I was raised. So that's my path. That's my path. Okay. So we have a really rocky, badass trail. They're like where everybody rides. Like that's like the place you ride your enduro bike. And I had the KOM on that back then. Yay, Lee. Okay. So I started training on that, and I got away from riding that trail because my shoulders hurt so much. It was just white hot pain, and I stopped riding it. It hurt, and it became miserable to me. But I knew right before we went to Worlds, I'm like, you got to get out there and ride that trail, bro. It's just time. Okay. So I took my mistress out there. We did a big cross country ride. It was a Sunday. The top loop I just ripped. I mean, it was profound. I don't know what the hell happened. It was incredible. and then for the main rocky part, it was a busy Sunday, and I was just like, well, we can't really hit it. My training buddy was there. He'd been on my wheel the whole process since I decided to do the race. And I get going and I just feel good, Jeff. I was like making these waves. I was a porpoise, man. And I was just making waves. A lot of people know me. A lot of people are students. Hey, Jeff. Hey, man, good job. Get low, bro. And I was like taking the time and Jeff, I was ready. Like when I went to Worlds, my goals were A, to prepare myself physically the best I could, and B, prepare myself emotionally and spiritually to release the outcome, be happy no matter what. And I just felt like that run was perfect, and I was happy, and I felt like I had accomplished everything I'd ever wanted. And I happened to have it on Strava, and dude, at 55 with artificial shoulders, less than a year post-op, I PR'd it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's 20 years later, right?
Yeah. And a couple of years ago, I would have said, that's insane. Oh, my God. But now I understand. Now I understand. Yeah. We try too hard. We worry about the wrong shit. We do. I'm saying we as a collective. I know the bros do because I'm a bro. I can speak to that psyche the best. And we try too hard. Us brainiac nerds. If your GPA was a 4, I'm talking to you. Right? You're trying too hard and your mind is beautiful. And I tell my students, I go, your mind bought you that bike and lets you take Wednesdays off and pay for the most expensive, amazing mountain bike coach in the world. That's the end of your brain for the day. We're going elsewhere. Right. And dude, when you can access the rest of you, and this is not woo woo. I know it sounds woo woo, and I'm wearing a freaking pink Hawaiian shirt. It's not.
But no, I mean, I don't think so. I think as bikers, we get that. I mean, we talk about flow state, and
Totally.
I feel like we understand it as well or better than people who don't bike, right? I mean,
Dude, 100%.
most of us have experienced it, whether it was like by accident or we're able to like access it regularly.
Right.
I think we've all experienced it a bit. And so we know it's there. We know that it's real.
That's why you're spending the money and the time. I mean,
Yeah.
mountain biking is expensive, dangerous, and time consuming. I suggest that you get everything you can out of it, including flow. Damn right, bro.
Mhm.
And by the way,
Yeah.
so like the body people, the natural athletes, we'll call them.
Mhm.
I hate the term, but that's a term. Okay. These people intuitively know how to go into flow.
Hmm.
These people might generally don't have a conscious awareness of how mountain biking works.
Mhm.
They don't. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't need it because they have access to their body system and they have the ability to go into that state and enjoy it. Okay.
Mhm.
It's taken me decades to learn how to even go there.
Yeah.
So if I say I'm like get good grades and I'm analytical and I have a high IQ, okay, I know there are people in mountain biking who hate me just because I'm smart and they feel judged by that. No, no. We're all made the way we're made, man. We all have our thing.
Mm-hmm.
My thing in mountain biking was clearly to start out as the king nerd and establish ideas about how technically we can ride, how technically we can fit bikes, how technically we can work on our fitness and our mobility and our mindset, and ultimately the spiritual aspect of riding. This is where I am in my riding now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you end up with is this polymath weirdo broham, me, who's been through all of these stages so far and who can help you whichever stage you're in.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I understand from the first day, from the first level one, from the first day we meet, that everything we do, we have to wash it through the joyride philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And which is, I guess we're going to run out of time real quick, but this is a good place to I want to say what the joyride philosophy is, if I may. Ready?
Sure.
1, if you see something good, say something. Be specific. That was good, Jeff. It's cool, but better would be, Jeff, the way you loaded your foot. Man, I saw your bike hook up. Good one. Okay? They get harder as we go.
Yeah.
1B, when you do something good, compliment yourself.
Okay.
Like you're Rob Warner on a bender.
Yeah.
Right? 2, accept the compliment.
Okay.
We don't say, you accept it, man. Don't.
False humility. There's no
it's
reason
horrible.
for that.
And then the last one is no self-deprecation. Don't talk shit on yourself.
Okay.
And that goes to just being your own favorite riding partner, first. If you just imagine some person talking to you the way you talk to yourself, you want to be someone you want to ride with. So that's the philosophy of it. And we start with that. And then we get into as much technical detail as we need. But Jeff, there's not a lot necessary. And I believe firmly, man, more and more, absolutely. I love metrics. You want to pedal at a certain wattage? Yeah, do it. Enjoy it. You want to hit a new jump? Please enjoy it. You want to go win a race? Oh man, whatever it is that you're doing, go ride with your kids, dude, whatever it is, be there. And my hope for everybody is to connect it with yourself and really enjoy it for what it is, because these are all phases.
Mm-hmm.
And right now you might be hardcore into racing, and I honor that, man. I honor that.
Mm-hmm.
But there will come a time when you're not. And I don't want you to come out of that phase with nothing left.
Right.
So begin the other parts of it so you can stay in this appreciation.
Yeah. That's great advice. I mean, and it's simple on the surface, but for sure it takes a lot of work, I think, for a lot of us. And yeah, good advice. So I want to ask you briefly about Mistress Cycles, which is a bike brand that you recently launched. In reading about it, I read that part of the impetus was that you were frustrated with modern mountain bike geometry. So briefly, what specifically was frustrating you about the way bikes are designed today?
Yeah, the most specific thing is bikes. This whole longer thing is just out of whack.
Too long.
And bikes are too long. It's specifically
Okay.
its frame reach. And bikes are just too long. And I've got some charts on the site. A size small 2023 Nomad, Santa Cruz Nomad,
Mm-hmm.
is longer than the size extra large 2013 Nomad.
Oh, wow.
There's no map whatsoever with the sizes.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
And in a very practical way, it's making it really, really difficult for people to ride their bikes safely and with fun. And if you're anything, you know, I'm statistically exactly the median height. I'm about 5'8.5".
Okay.
There are a lot of brands I can't ride at all in any size. They're too long. And that's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah. What does that do? I mean, when a bike is too long, like, again, briefly, like how do people experience that? And what is like the pain point with that?
You feel like you're on the bike and the bike's taking you for a ride. A.
Mm-hmm.
B, if you're trying to make shapes and do the new kind of riding where you're dropping and jumping and doing stuff, think about it. There's a lever between your hands and your feet.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how you control your bike. That's my whole riding philosophy. If that lever is too long for your body, you don't have as much range of motion.
Right.
You just don't. And you can't like do the steep thing.
Yeah.
You can't nose into a steep landing. You can't lean for that switchback. It's just not available. And also that pushes the work to the smaller muscles. So you're going to tend to have pain through here. Right.
Yeah.
And so I wrote the first dial book, and it's a good book. The second one was better. And the main criticism was, well, dude, like, great, but no one makes the bikes. So I have other ideas that we can talk about as much as you want, but and I was like, you know, it's time to stop complaining. I'm just going to make some.
Yeah. That's cool.
I just want to solve the problem. And so now it's awesome because we can fit anybody to the millimeter perfectly. It feels great. You get any color you want. We make them one at a time. You know, there's no freaking warehouse full of last year's bikes in Asia that's about to get tariffed. None of that's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
This is just like old school. I love mountain biking. I love mountain bikers. I want you to have a tool that works for you, Jeff. That's all it is. And you know what, by the way, I don't care what you put on the down tube. I don't care. It can say Lee is awesome. It can say I love my wife. I don't care. I'm not here to build a brand. I'm here to like lead a movement of using the mountain bike as our way of accessing our joy, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Powerful.
Through shred.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, finally, I want to ask you, I mean, obviously you've written a number of books. You've got these products like the Moto Cranx and the Ripro trainer, which we didn't even talk about. And now your bike brand. What other projects do you have in the works? That is after you're done with the Pump Track Worlds thing. What's next on your radar?
That'll be 20 seconds of my life, and then I'll be watching the pros get after it through the round. It'll be fun. You know, I'm experimenting right now with pump bikes, and I just built my first ever bike that's never going to be pedaled ever. And it's amazing. The geometry, it's very motocrossy. So we're exploring that thing. I'm writing the Dial 2, the second version of that. Okay. And the first version of Dial was only about downhill handling. That's all it was. And it was just like just pedal. But this is more complete. It talks about the entire bike for any kind of rider. It's both more complete and more simple and more flexible, which I think is good as a designer. And then there'll be the Dial bike. But then I'm excited to tell you this. This is like the dream of the nerd. Okay. I'm one phone call away. It's going to happen this week from final confirmation, but it's going to happen in fall. I am going to serve as professor of mountain biking at Colorado Mountain College.
Whoa, that's awesome.
And we are going to do a pilot. Yes, we are starting a pilot, and you will be able to go to Colorado Mountain College. And as part of your associate's degree for like working in the outdoors and doing that, you can learn how to be a mountain bike coach from me.
Wow. Like this is very official. My goodness. That's awesome.
I'll tell you. And so next time you see me, it'll say Professor Shred.
Professor Shred. Yeah.
It tickles my funny bone that, you know, mountain biking has come to the point where someone's considering college classes in it. And I think it's pretty fun that I get to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is it. Like this is like that, this whole lifetime of devotion and joy and pain and everything. Here's where it leads, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, Lee. Your enthusiasm is just amazing and infectious. And yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show and chat with us.
You're very welcome, brother. Very welcome.
Well, you can keep up with the latest from Lee McCormack on Instagram at Lee Likes Bikes, where you'll find links to all the projects we talked about here today. That's all we've got this time. We'll talk to you again next time.